First of all, start off by walking me through it, just a typical day for you.
Wow. I get up in the morning, I spend time with my granddaughter, signing her paperwork, going over her schoolwork, head off to work. I work for IDOT, Department of Transportation. I'm an operations training manager. I'm preparing for travel. I'm on the road weekly doing this wonderful traffic incidents management series. It's a mandated training that we have going on for all tow operators and or owners, anyone who's on the side of the road responding to a disabled vehicle, a collision or fatality. They must be certified in this wonderful training that I'm responsible for coordinating statewide. So then I come home and sometimes I grab a Pepsi, not really anything to eat, and I head off to meetings. Usually I start off with a NAACP meeting, and from there I'm running to a sorority meeting or a Red Cross meeting, except for on Thursdays. That's choir rehearsal, so I make sure that nothing else is going on if I'm in town except for choir rehearsal, because I'm really committed to my church as well as to my community. And I usually get home about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I'm usually on the computer responding to emails, returning phone calls until midnight. My mother always said, if you're not busy, you're going to die. So I'm extremely busy. I probably took that to the next level. So I'm always busy giving back. I believe my purpose in life is to serve my family, my community, and number one, my God. And that's what I try to do.
Awesome. Tell me about this process to becoming state president of the NAACP.
Well, it's been a long journey. You know, you heard that saying, second time around is better than the first time. I ran 2 years ago and lost by 10 votes and was continuing to run and determined not to give up and to run again. And if I lost this time, I was going to be back again. I was going to be like that nightmare, that bad dream that kept coming back until we got it right. I sincerely believe that it was a time for a change in the state of Illinois, that we needed to have someone younger, especially when we're trying to bridge the gap between the young and the old. I'm not so old, but I'm not so young either, but I'm that tweener generation. The average people in the NAACP, the real freedom fighters, they're around 65, 70 years old right now. This new generation that's coming about, they're young, they're motivated, they have that momentum, and we don't want to lose that. So now I believe is the best time to get them on board, to get them involved as the next civil rights leaders. You saw the situation that just happened in Mizzou. We look at Ferguson, we look at Trayvon Martin, and young people are starting a movement. And why reinvent the wheel? Let's try to connect with them and find ways to bringing them into the oldest, the boldest, the most loved, the most hated civil rights organization in the world, and that is the NAACP. So I am pleased, I am honored to serve as the state president for Illinois, as well as the local branch president. Springfield has a strong history in terms of racism, discrimination, but also trying to make things better. We are the capital. I mean, you look at President Abraham Lincoln, you look at President Barack Obama, really got his start here in Springfield, Illinois. And then for me to be born and raised here in Springfield and to lead the nation's oldest civil rights organization is truly a blessing and an honor. And that energy level is high, and I plan on doing whatever I need to do to keep us moving, as I say.
That's awesome. And you've already touched on a lot of it, but why take on such a role?
Why not? You have not because you asked not. I guess I asked for it, and I'm ready to take on the challenge. Somebody has to do it, and what I plan on doing is to be a team player throughout the state, to delegate, to get more people involved. Like with our vice presidents, I plan on splitting up the responsibilities per region. Those in the Chicago areas who serve in the leadership position will take on more of the responsibilities. Those downstate will take on more of the responsibilities, and those of us who are in central Illinois will also share in those responsibilities, because one person can't do it alone. We're one NAACP, regardless if it's Carbondale, if it's Chicago, if it's Quincy, or if it's Danville. So my goal is to bring all of us together as one NAACP.
Now, you became president. What year did you become president of the local chapter?
I don't know. This is my third term. I have served on the executive committee of the local branch for over 25 years, since I was 25 years old, right out of graduate school. I had an opportunity once before to step to step up as the local branch president, but I had things going on in my personal life with going through a divorce, my daughter being in college, and I just chose to hold off, but always served in leadership positions from third vice president to second vice president to first vice president. So I've worked my way up within the organization and learned the organization inside and out, attended state conferences, regional conferences, and national conventions, and presented workshops. And so I've learned the organization.
Do you feel like your efforts are working so far since being president of the local branch?
I think they've helped me to get to being elected the state branch president, but I think we're making great strides here in Springfield. We still have a lot of work to do. One of the things that I want is I want a building. If the NAACP was truly founded because of incidents like the 1908 race riots here in Springfield, and we have a back-to-school, stay-in-school program, which we're housing at a church right now, why not have a building to house some of those historical materials, event, artifacts, have a place for our students, and have a place for people who come to town to visit a historical location set aside for the NAACP. So that's one of my major goals as the local branch president and also the state branch president.
Can I ask you what's going to be what are going to be the major differences between being president of a local chapter and a state chapter?
Having more say, having more power in terms of decisions that are made statewide. I always believe including the other leadership throughout the state, but a lot of times things happen and our president was in Chicago or located somewhere else. When things happen and they need someone to come down and testify with the Senate and the House, I'm right here locally, so no one has to travel, and I think we can get more work done by being located here in Springfield.
Why do black people need an NAACP? Because some people would say, you know, why do we even need NAACP anymore? You know, why do we still need an NAACP in 2015?
Well, one reason is because racism still exists, but the NAACP is just not about black folks. It's about all folks. It's about anyone who's been discriminated against. It's about dealing with injustices everywhere. It's about looking at the civil rights issue in terms of voting rights issue. Voting rights should be available for all citizens. So if anyone goes to the voting polls and they're unable to register to vote or to cast their vote, people fought, bled, and died for our rights to have a right to speak and to have a voice and to make decisions. So the NAACP is just not about black folks, and that's one of the myths that I want to help dismantle. We wouldn't have started without white individuals, without Jewish individuals, and black folks stepping up and being united. You look at the situation again that just took place in Mizzou at the University of Missouri. It wasn't just the black athletes, it was the white athletes, it was the administrators, it was the coaches, it was everyone in that community coming together and saying, this is unfair treatment of all citizens. And that's what the NAACP is about. It's about all citizens and not just black citizens.
Awesome. Going forward, how long are you hoping to lead in this way?
Lord knows. I have no clue. I haven't thought about it. I will be a civil rights fighter until the day I die, until the day I take my last breath. So I plan on being around for a while, hopefully.
Talk about just briefly some of the other organizations you're a part of, like the Red Cross. Touch on why you're passionate about the Red Cross a little bit, and maybe the sorority.
Okay. Well, in terms of the Red Cross to me gives back to the community. It's like the NAACP, and I think that's why I did both of them for so long parallel. The Red Cross does not discriminate. Disasters occur without warning at any time of the day or night. You look at fires, tornadoes, hurricanes, or whatever disaster that you can think about. And it provides a shelter for people. It provides a helping aid for individuals. And that's also what the NAACP does. And so it's colorless. And when disasters happen, we don't think about the color of the person's skin. We don't think about the socioeconomic background that they have. And so that's why I'm involved in the Red Cross. It's about helping people who need help. It's about helping people start again. You can't necessarily start over, but you can start again. In terms of my sorority, I love being a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. It is a powerful group of educated, professional black women who are committed to public service, and it's strong here in Springfield, Illinois. We see so many of our sorority sisters doing positive things. We have a lot of educators, we have a lot of business owners. They're just involved and just out in the community in the forefront making a difference. So for me, as a young girl growing up poor in the projects and seeing women walk around in red and white and knowing what they stood for, I couldn't wait to grow up, go to college, and join Delta Sigma Theta sorority.
Anything else?
Church.
Let's talk about church.
Talk about church. Church is very, very important. No matter what I go through in my life, no matter how many highs or lows I have, how many marriages, divorces, children, whatever the case may be, I can always turn to God, and I can always turn to church. I find a lot of peace. Church is a healing place. It's like a hospital for the sick. Those who have been sick, those who are going to be sick, and those who are going through whatever we're going through. It's a peaceful place. Serving in the choir for me is my form of ministry, ministering through music. I think about the words that I'm singing and they meditate to me. A lot of times when people are riding in my car, they'll say, especially if we're going long distance, 12 hours down in Louisiana, my mom, my friends would be like, can we listen to something else? It's always gospel. You know, there's a testimony in songs, and the songs that I lead at church are testimonies of my life and my experiences. So I find a lot of peace, a lot of healing, and a lot of comfort in church. So on Sunday mornings, that's where you're going to see me, right there in the choir stand. Church is a great place for all of us to be. And I always tell people say, girl, I'm coming, I got to get myself together. You don't have to get yourself together. Do you get yourself together when you're sick before you go to the hospital or to the doctor, or do you just go looking for healing? And that's what church provides for me, and hopefully for people that I interact with while I'm there enjoying the worship. You didn't ask me about family.
Talk about being a daughter, a mother, a grandmother, what that means to you.
Being a daughter is wonderful when you have a wonderful mom like mine. You know, she keeps you motivated, she keeps you encouraged. My mom is one of my best friends. She's really, really cool. And when you get to meet her or get to know her, people say, oh, I met your mom. The funny thing is, I used to work for a state agency, and I was a trainer, right? My mother was in my class. I would go around asking the students, please introduce yourself, tell me something about you. And she would say, I'm Teresa's mother. I'm like, oh, Lord. You know, and so I'm still saying yes, ma'am, to my mom, even at 50. So how do you get other people to really take me serious or take her serious when I got my mom sitting there in class? But I love my mom. I love my daughter. I have one daughter and one grandchild. I wouldn't trade them for the world. My granddaughter is that second child that I never had. So she's like a mini me. My mom, my family, and my friends, they say, oh, Lord, when we see Talea, we see you coming. My daughter's more like her dad. You know, the great thing that we all have in common is I was a grade school, a middle school, a high school, and a college cheerleader, and so was my daughter. And my granddaughter, she's always cheering, and she's looking forward to going to college and becoming a college cheerleader as well. So, yay!